I'd spent thousands of dollars on the latest and greatest fishing gear. I had carbon fiber rods, reels smoother than silk, and a tackle box just overflowing with every color and shape of plastic worm you can imagine. I had the fluorocarbon line, the tungsten weights, and lures that promised to wiggle, flash, and vibrate in a way no base could possibly resist. And for all that money, I still couldn't catch a thing. It was beyond frustrating, and honestly, I was right on the verge of giving it all up. But then, a chance encounter in a dusty old Alabama bait shop with an 87-year-old fisherman changed everything. He watched me staring at a wall of $15 bottles of fish attractant, let out a little chuckle, and then showed me a simple $3 secret from the grocery store. A secret, he said, helped him land 47 bass in a single morning. And in this video, I'm going to share that exact secret with you. Before we get to the secret, you really need to understand the hole I was in. Fishing just wasn't fun anymore. It felt like a job. Every single trip was the same painful routine. I'd spend an hour researching the hot new lure, drive down to the tackle shop, and drop another $30 on something that looked more like a piece of modern art than something a fish would actually eat. I remember one trip specifically. It was a perfect spring morning on a lake known for giants. I had a brand new $400 casting setup, a fresh spool of expensive line, and a tackle bag that must have weighed 50 pounds. For 6 straight hours, I threw everything I had. I tried Texas rigs, Carolina rigs, drop shots, wacky worms, crankbaits, spinnerbaits, you name it, I threw it. And I got nothing. Not a single bite. The water was glass, the birds were chirping, and all I could feel was that soul-crushing silence of failure. I'd see other boats. Guys who looked like they'd been fishing since the dawn of time, just pulling in fish after fish. What did they know that I didn't? Was my gear not good enough? Was my technique all wrong? I was trapped in this cycle of trying to buy my way to success, but all I was buying was more disappointment. I was convinced catching fish required some kind of secret handshake I just didn't have. Packing up my uselessly expensive gear that afternoon, I genuinely considered selling it all. A week later, totally defeated, I found myself driving along the coast near Mobile, Alabama. On a whim, I pulled into this tiny, sun-bleached bait shop that looked like it hadn't changed since the 1960s. The air inside was thick with that smell of salt, shrimp, and old wood. And there I was again, staring at a wall of lures, ready to make the exact same mistake one more time. As I was picking up a bottle of garlic-scented spray, a quiet voice from a stool in the corner said, "You're wasting your money, son." I turned to see an old man, had to be in his late 80s, just nursing a cup of coffee. His face was a road map of wrinkles carved by decades under the sun, and his hands were gnarled but steady. He had this calm, knowing look in his eye, the kind that just says, he's seen it all. He slowly stood up, walked over, and took the bottle of scent right out of my hand, placing it back on the shelf. "You're trying to fool his nose," he said, his voice a low, gravelly drawl. "But you gotta fool his taste." He told me to follow him. We didn't go to the lure aisle or the bait tank. We walked right past the register and straight out the door. He pointed across the street to a small grocery store. "The best fish attractant in the world is in there," he said. "And it'll cost you about $3. Back in the bait shop, he sat me down and told me a story. He talked about fishing the Gulf states back in the 50s and 60s, long before the multi-billion-dollar tackle industry was even a thing. He said back then, every serious fisherman knew the secret. It wasn't something you bought in a tackle shop. It was just passed down. He leaned in, a little twinkle in his eye, and told me about a fishing trip just a few years ago. He went out on a local lake that was notoriously tough. While everybody else was getting skunked, he put 47 bass in the boat in just over 6 hours. His boat partner was using all the latest and greatest gear and only caught 2. The only difference? This $3 powder the old man had sprinkled on his plastic worms. Then he told me the part that really got my attention. he said with a conspiratorial whisper, that the old-timers swore this simple trick was quietly banned from some local bass tournaments in Louisiana back in the 90s. The reason? It was just too effective. It gave anyone who knew about it an unfair advantage. It wasn't about a special scent. It was about creating a massive cloud of pure food signals in the water that fish simply couldn't ignore. The secret, the legendary, supposedly tournament-banned fish attractant, was unflavored gelatin. Yep, he was talking about a simple box of Knox unflavored gelatin, the same stuff your grandma uses to make jello molds. He pulled a worn-out Ziploc bag from his pocket with a fine whitish powder inside. And the way he explained it just made perfect sense. Most commercial fish scents are oil-based. They put a slick in the water, a smell. But gelatin is different. It's pure protein, collagen to be exact. When you coat a damp lure with it, it sticks. The second it hits the water, it starts to slowly dissolve. But it doesn't just create a scent trail. It releases a cloud of amino acids, the actual building blocks of life that fish are biologically programmed to find and interpret as food. It's not just a smell, it's a taste cloud. A fish's lateral line and taste receptors pick it up, and their brain screams one thing: eat. Here's his exact method, step by step. First, get your bait a little damp. Just a bit of water is all you need for the powder to stick. It works best on soft plastics like worms and grubs, but he swore by it for live minnows too. Second, pour some of the gelatin powder into a small dry plastic bag or a little Tupperware container. Third, drop your damp lure in, seal the bag, and give it a good shake. You're not trying to make a dough ball here, just a light, even dusting that covers the whole bait. That's it. Rig it up and cast it out. He said you'll probably need to reapply it every 45 minutes or so as it fully dissolves. He even gave me his custom mixes. For bass and catfish, he'd mix 2 parts gelatin with 1 part garlic powder. For saltwater fishing, he'd save dried shrimp shells, crush them into a fine powder, and mix that in. If you're already digging through your pantry or making a grocery list, do me a huge favor first and hit that like and subscribe button, because sharing these kinds of forgotten secrets is what this channel is all about, and you're not going to want to miss the proof. I walked out of that bait shop feeling like I had just been handed a treasure map. I bought a box of Knox gelatin for $2.89 and drove straight to the nearest boat ramp. I was skeptical, of course. How could something so simple possibly work better than the hundreds of dollars of gear I owned? I tied on a plain green plastic worm, dipped it in the lake, shook it in a baggie with the gelatin powder, and cast it out towards a submerged tree. The lure settled on the bottom. I waited. I twitched it once. The line went tight, and I don't mean a subtle little tick, but a solid, heavy thump. I reared back and set the hook, and the rod just doubled over. A minute later, I was lipping a healthy 3-pound bass. My hands were literally shaking. I hadn't had a bite like that in months. I just sat there for a second in disbelief, looking at the fish, and then at the ridiculous little box of gelatin on the seat next to me. It wasn't a fluke. I cast again. Another fish. And another. Okay, it wasn't 47 bass like the old man's legend. Not on my first day. But I caught more fish in the next 2 hours than I had in the entire last year combined. Now, of course, I had to go home and look this up. I scoured the internet for any official records of a gelatin ban in Louisiana tournaments. And as you might expect, I couldn't find a thing. The real cheating scandals that get people banned are a lot darker, involving things like stuffing lead weights down a fish's throat to win. So maybe the old man's story was just that, a story, a piece of fishing folklore to make the secret sound even better. But whether the ban was a tall tale or not, he wasn't wrong about the most important part: the stuff just works. It really got me thinking, why isn't this common knowledge? Why are we spending billions and billions a year on fishing gear in the US when a $3 box from the grocery store can outfish a $20 bottle of so-called gimmick juice? The truth is, it's probably not some big conspiracy. It's not like there was a secret meeting where tackle companies agreed to bury the gelatin market. The answer is much simpler. The fishing industry, like any other, runs on what's new and improved. It's hard to build a big marketing campaign around a product that's been sitting in the baking aisle for 100 years. It's way easier to sell a new color, a new vibration pattern, or a new high-tech formula in a flashy bottle. Simple, effective, and cheap solutions just get forgotten. They don't have marketing budgets. They only survive in the stories of old-timers in dusty bait shops waiting for somebody desperate enough to actually listen. That day, the 87-year-old angler didn't just teach me a new way to fish. He taught me a new way to think about fishing. It's not about having the most expensive rod or the trendiest lure. It's about understanding the fish and giving them what they actually want. And apparently, what they want is a cloud of delicious protein. So, here's my challenge to you. The next time you go fishing, make a quick stop in the baking aisle. Grab a box of unflavored gelatin. Try it for yourself. See if this old-school secret still holds up. Let me know how it works for you down in the comments. I really want to hear your stories. And of course, if you want more forgotten secrets that the fishing industry doesn't talk about, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks for watching. Now go catch some fish.